Bonjour, French 1 students. Here is some information about Lesson 11, Part A on pages 164 and 165 in your textbook. Leçon A, les adjectifs masculins et féminins. We're going to look at this learning about language box first. Learning about language, adjectives are words that describe people, places, and things. So that's just reminding you grammatically what an adjective does, right? An adjective is a describing word. We use adjectives to describe people, places, things, and ideas, okay? In French, masculine adjectives are used with masculine nouns, and feminine adjectives are used with feminine nouns. This is called noun-adjective agreement. So one difference between French and English, and this isn't just unique to French, this is true of any language based on Latin. So this is true in Italian and in Spanish and in French, okay, is because nouns in French are masculine or feminine, adjectives, which are the describing words that we're talking about, must also be masculine or feminine, and we'll also see, singular or plural to match the noun they're describing. So this is kind of an extra complication that we see in French that we don't have in English. So if we look kind of back up at our examples here, notice these are masculine examples. Le scooter est petit. Remember, I know that scooter is masculine because it has that le there. Okay. So we have le scooter est petit, and petit is the masculine form of this adjective. La voiture est petite. Okay, again, the la is telling me that that's a feminine noun, and I have a feminine adjective. Patrick est intelligent. Caroline est intelligente. Again, Patrick is a boy. Caroline is a girl. L'ordinateur est moderne. La télé est moderne. Okay, so again here we're seeing differences between masculine and feminine adjectives based on the noun that they're describing. Remember, how do I know that nouns are feminine, right? Feminine nouns, I'm going to look for une or la. Masculine nouns, I'm going to look for le or un. Okay, so remember, that's why it's going to have been so very important that as you've learned your vocabulary, you've learned whether these nouns were masculine or feminine. Kind of going through the translation of the sentences here, we have the scooter is small, the car is small, Patrick is intelligent, Caroline is intelligent, the computer is modern, the television is modern. So let's take a little bit closer look at this. In written French, feminine adjectives are usually formed as follows. We take that masculine adjective and we're going to add an E to make it feminine. So I normally kind of do this in a chart. And I kind of put an X here. And I put an X here because this is the form that you're going to find in a dictionary. Will always be the masculine singular form in your glossary of your book. Okay. If you look it up somewhere, the form of the adjective they're going to give you is always the masculine singular form. To take that masculine singular form and make it feminine, okay, we're going to add an E to our adjective. To take that masculine singular adjective and make it plural, we're going to add an S to that adjective. And to take that masculine singular adjective and make it feminine and plural, we're going to add ES to our adjective. Now, there are a couple exceptions here, okay? So, one exception is with this, okay? With this, if the adjective ends in an E already, we don't add another E. Okay, so all we're saying is if our masculine singular adjective already ends in an E, okay, we don't add another E to make it feminine. In that case, when we have masculine singular adjectives that end in an E, their masculine and feminine forms of the adjective are the same. Another exception, okay, is here. And that exception is, okay, if our adjective already ends in an S, we don't add an extra S. Okay. So again, all I'm saying here is if my adjective already ends in an S in the masculine singular form, I don't add another S when I make it feminine or make it plural, okay? So all we're saying here is when my adjective already ends in an S in the masculine singular form, the masculine singular and masculine plural forms of the adjective are the same. So that's kind of explained in these couple bullets or arrows here. So at our first one it says, if the masculine adjective ends in an E, there is no change in the feminine form. So Jerome est timide, Juliette est timide. Timide, that's the masculine singular, but because it already ends in an E, we don't add an extra E to make it feminine. Those sentences are saying, Jerome is shy, Juliette is shy. Adjectives that follow the above patterns are called regular adjectives. Those that do not are called irregular adjectives. For example, Marc est beau, Sylvie est belle. Right? Completely different forms of the adjective there. It is the same adjective. Paul est Canadien, Marie est Canadienne. Again, this is one where we add an extra N-E to make it feminine, which makes it an irregular adjective. Going through these sentences, Mark is handsome, Sylvie is beautiful, Paul is Canadian, Marie is Canadian. Okay. So note, French dictionaries list adjectives by their masculine forms. For irregular adjectives, the feminine form is indicated in parentheses. Note de prononciation. If the masculine form of an adjective ends in a silent consonant, that consonant is pronounced in the feminine form. So what we're saying here is, if we don't say the last letter of the adjective, when we add an E to it, we do pronounce it. So they sound different. Okay? So these are ones that are going to sound different when you say them. If the masculine form of the adjective ends in a vowel or a pronounced consonant, the masculine and feminine forms sound the same. So they're kind of have two boxes here, right? These are adjectives where the masculine and feminine forms sound different. Okay? And that's pretty important when you're speaking, because if you're speaking to a male person, you don't want to accidentally use a female pronunciation of the adjective. Okay? And then we have ones that have the same pronunciation, which mean, okay, that our masculine and feminine forms sound the same. You can't tell, okay, from the adjective, whether you're talking to a male or a female. So looking at those different pronunciations, s'il vous plaît, répétez petit, petite, blond, blonde, français, française. Okay, so those all sound different, masculine and feminine. These were our masculines, these were our feminines. Same pronunciation. S'il vous plaît, répétez timide, timide, jolie, jolie, espagnol, espagnol. So again, even though here jolie is spelled differently and espagnol are spelled differently, they're pronounced the same way when you say them. So on the next page, you have some vocabulary these are all adjectives for la description. S'il vous plaît, répétez amusant, intelligent, intéressant, méchant, bête, sympathique, timide. And now you see right here are those irregular adjectives where we have those feminine forms in parentheses. Okay? S'il vous plaît, répétez gentil, gentille, mignon, mignonne, sportif, sportive. I'm going to do these, okay, sentences, but we'll kind of do them going across. So I'll do the masculine sentence and then the feminine one. If you would please, s'il vous plaît, répétez. Il est amusant. Elle est amusante. Il est intelligent. Elle est intelligente. Il est intéressant. Elle est intéressante. Il n'est pas méchant. Elle n'est pas méchante. Il n'est pas bête. Elle n'est pas bête. Il est sympathique. Elle est sympathique. Il est timide. Elle n'est pas timide. Il est gentil. Elle est gentille. Il est mignon. Elle est mignonne. Il est sportif. Elle est sportive. I think you can figure out the translation of those sentences pretty easily. We also have these adverbs. Okay, so we have s'il vous plaît, répétez assez. Assez. Nous sommes assez intelligents. Très. Très. Vous n'êtes pas très sportif. So, looking at this, right, one of the things that you should be able to tell now is when I look at this word intelligent here, right, it ends in an S. That means this new we're talking about is plural because it has an S, but it's either a mixed group or an all-male group because there's no ES. If the new was a group of all girls, we'd have intelligent ending in an ES. Same thing here when we look at sportif. We don't know for sure who makes up this vous, but I know it's more than one person because I see the S. And again, it's either a mixed group or an all-male group because it doesn't have that IVE ending. So here's some extra supplementary vocabulary that's in the teacher's edition of the textbook. S'il vous plaît, répétez content, triste, fort, faible, riche, pauvre, fatigué, énergique, génial, stupide, poli, impoli, drôle, pénible, optimiste, pessimiste, sincère, indépendant, athlétique, dynamique. And again, these are all regular adjectives, so they would follow this pattern that we talked about right here. They're all going to do this, okay, to become masculine, feminine, singular, plural, depending upon the noun you're describing. So, if we go back and kind of maybe look at a couple examples of that. So, if I want to talk about des garçons, right? Des garçons, that's masculine, and plural because it ends in an S. So if I want to say that they're fun, it would be amusant. And I'd have to add an S to make amusant agree in gender, being masculine, and plural to match des garçons. If by contrast I have des filles, which is girls, and again, let's say that they are fun girls, then it's going to be des filles amusantes with an E-S, okay, to match des filles because des filles is feminine and plural. So you have to be paying attention to details in French because you have to be making sure that your adjectives now always agree in gender, so masculine or feminine, and in number, singular or plural, with the nouns they're describing, right? And these are our nouns, and these are our adjectives, okay? Okay, so our adjectives aren't always spelled the same. It depends upon the gender and the number of the nouns they're describing. So your homework is on page 164, exercise 1, and page 165, exercise 3. Let's take a look at exercise 1 first. Vive la différence, so live for differences. We see parler or écrire. Écrire means writing. You're going to do this as a writing activity. People can be friends and yet be quite different. Describe the girls named in parentheses, indicating that they are not like their friends. So look at our example. Our example prompt is Jean-Marc est blond. And then we have Melanie. So this sentence right here is saying that Jean-Marc is blonde. So we want to say that Melanie is not blonde. So Melanie n'est pas blonde, and I have to add that E because Melanie is a girl. So all of these names here, in case you're not sure, these are all girls' names. So what you're doing in this whole exercise is you're making kind of two things. Number one, you're making them negative. So you make your sentence negative. So that means you're going to add ne pas around your verb, right? Ne, verb, pas. Okay, you're adding that ne and pas. And secondly, you're changing your adjective so it's feminine. So if we took a look at maybe number 6, we have André est français. So André is French. So we want to say that Lisa isn't French. So our sentence that we're writing is going to be Lisa n'est pas, right? So I just added my ne and my pas around my verb that was already in my sentence. And now I need to make français feminine. So it ends in an S. That's the masculine singular form. So I have to add an E to make it feminine to agree with Lisa. So that's what you would write on your paper for these. Exercise 3, description. Again, it's not going to be a parler activity for you. You're going to write it. It says select one. Notice it only asks you for one of the following characters. Using words from the vocabulary, the orange box on the top of page 165, describe this character in 2 affirmative or negative sentences. So you get to choose. So their example, they did Frankenstein. So they said, Frankenstein, il est très méchant, il n'est pas très mignon. So they're saying he is very mean, he is not very cute. So you get to choose anyone here, okay? So you, again, get to choose. Now notice, remember, why did these examples start with eel? Because Frankenstein is male. Remember, if you choose somebody who's female from this list, then your sentences are going to start A or L instead. Your verbs won't change. They're either going to be A if it's affirmative or n'est pas if it's negative. And then you get to choose what adjectives to use. Just remember, if you have to start your sentence with an L, you need to use the feminine form of the adjective. And you're only doing this for one person. So you get to pick which one of these 10 people you'd like to describe, and you're going to write 2 sentences total for that one person. Au revoir, à lundi.